Yo, what up? This is your boy Solo. Now we're back here again with another one, and this is gonna be about how people get stuck in their desires, and rather not being relatable, and knowing a deeper aspect of themselves, because knowledge is always evolving. Knowledge is always expanding, and there's no excuse for people to stay fixated and and stuck in a certain spirit, in a certain space, just because you're comfortable in that space, which is only causing you to, be more toxic and self-reflect more. Because if you're too fixated in the energy, you're too comfortable, you're just gonna keep going after that comfort in different ways and shapes and form. So, that by default is gonna make you a toxic individual, because you're not gonna look at anything else as something worth to get into, because you're not doing that shadow work to get out of your comfort zone. So you're just gonna keep chasing that comfort zone, and it's gonna make you toxic, because that's all you want to do, and that's all you want to feel. You're in a spiritual space where I'm gonna do whatever I want, and and that's just how the world is. People are just too comfortable, and whatever comfort zone they're in, which is it could be an addiction, it could be a certain lifestyle, it could be synthetic bullshit like scrolling on your phone for no stupid reason, eating retarded food that gives you poison, that affects your thoughts and feelings, and puts you in a spiritual space where you just want to be in a comfortable space of taste buds and shit like that. It could be a drinking addiction. You can't stop poisoning yourself, because you're chasing after this feeling, and the only way you could produce that feeling is to drink the elixir outside of you, the alcohol, the drinks, whatever. So instead of connecting to nature, you rather chase these drugs that you wouldn't even water a plant with. So that goes with everything else, like getting too much into sports, which is a mental illness, and this develops a comfort zone around developing an ego, developing thinking this is some like gladiator type shit, like, which is a super mental illness, because white people are in control of sports. You're following how white people are benefiting from sports. How they're using people like sheeps who are retarded into sports, to use these as pawns to go against other teams who are not even in the team, because they feel entitled of how their team is and how good that team is in their area location, when it comes to just competing and shit. So this creates competition amongst retarded individuals who are fans of the team, who are not even in the team. And we all see the type of violence that creates in the stadiums and shit like that. It's just verbal abuse. This shit is retarded. But these are all addictions that we subconsciously get into, and it drives you away from nature. It drives you away from the bigger picture. Your mind is getting lost in these things. Once you get lost in these things, your feelings goes with it, and it's kind of tricky and hard to get out of those situations if you just want to be in that comfort zone. So knowledge is always infinite, knowledge is always expandable, and we all live in a spiritual space, in the same space where we resonate with the same natures, the same air, water, earth, fire. And these are spiritual aspects before we see them physical. And people need to get out of their desires, because that's synthetic and that's demonic, because why would you rather be stuck in a desire that was synthetically created by the system and government, rather than understanding God and nature itself, that these things are all, these are all of these things that we get stuck into are after the fact. It's like you're stuck in a layer, and there's an outer layer. There's more outer layers that you're not seeing. And the only way to do that is to, have discernment, have a spiritual experience. You gotta meditate. You gotta use your mind to get out of, to question things, learn about things, expand your awareness, situation, and then you have to have the discernment and decide what's moral, what's morally correct and wrong, right or wrong. And that's when you decide to detach from certain biases and mentalities that don't serve you but only serves the system, aka the colonizers. This is the natives' land, so humans are following colonizer destructive ideologies and biases and how they like to do things, which is disconnecting billions of people on earth from the true natures and the true God and the great spirit. People are lost in their minds when you're supposed to understand that the spirit created the mind, and that mind is how we're subconsciously creating physical reality as a collective. And I'm gonna just leave it at that, and I'm gonna make another video in the future about certain shit. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Peace.